of July holiday. We're on your side with how hot we're expecting it to get and how you can keep it safe. Plus, we talk about how the warm up can impact not just your physical health, but your mental health as well, and the science behind how it can lead to an increase in crime.
Live on your side, First Alert Weather Extra starts right now.
Welcome into First Alert Weather Extra on this 4th of July Eve. I'm meteorologist Lauren Lenahan here to give you that weather extra on the 4th of July forecast, what's brewing in the tropics, and of course those exciting topics we were just mentioning. So even though it's been pretty quiet thus far this hurricane season for us here in central Alabama, our next big thing could be some more trouble brewing across the southeast coast of the U.S. I wanted to just kind of give you some perspective. Let's look at the map here of when we monitor activity in the Atlantic Basin for hurricane season, which runs from June 1st through November 30th. You'll notice that we begin to see a peak and increase in activity as we get later into August and early September. The climatological peak of hurricane season is actually on September 10th. So you can see we're still kind of in this territory, and early July where not much happened. So it's been really quiet in the Atlantic Basin, a very different story in the Eastern Pacific. You can see the remnants of Flossie. Well, it's still a tropical cyclone. It's actually called an extratropical cyclone now because it's lost some of those characteristics that it had when it was a fully tropical system. So that's more of an issue for the Baja Peninsula of Mexico, but we look a little bit closer to home and we still have an area we're watching for a medium chance of development off of the southeast coast of the U.S. Where you see this area highlighted in orange, that's where we could potentially see an area of low pressure developing. That possibly could become something like a tropical depression early next week. It's not a guarantee though, but the reason it feels so good for us outside right now, we had a front that's come through. So that front actually hanging out to our south now. Sometimes what happens this time of the year is if you get a front to come through, it can allow an area of low pressure to develop along it. And so that's what we could be seeing happening in the days ahead. I will say though, it looks like if we are going to see a tropical system out of this, the main place it would be a rainmaker is actually over the water. You can see much higher rainfall totals at this time, potentially offshore from the Carolinas, Georgia coast, and the Atlantic coast of Florida. So that's potentially some good news. Now, if we were to get a named tropical system out of this, the next name on the list would be Chantal. So we've already had Andrea and Barry. So we're still early in the season, but as I mentioned earlier, that peak doesn't really come until late August, early September. Much quieter right now, though. With that drier air in place, our rain chances have faded away. As we look at First Alert AccuTrack tonight, you can almost see a little tumbleweed going across the screen. So just a 10% chance or less of a stray shower tonight. Temperatures comfortably in the 80s. As we look ahead to that 4th of July weekend forecast, though, you can see temperatures are going to be climbing. We have a first alert for temperatures climbing into the low to mid 90s. And of course, even though the temperatures are going to be climbing, everyone wants to know, okay, is the forecast at least going to behave for us? Well, yes, because you want to watch Thunder on the Mountain tomorrow night at 9 p.m. That broadcast here on WBRC, Mike and Janice will be hosting as the fireworks show takes off at Vulcan Park and Museum. You'll notice right around 9 o'clock when it takes off, we've got just a 10% chance of rain and temperatures will be right near 80 degrees. The best part, the humidity is lower because we have drier air in place. So it's going to be feeling really good. But even though we have lower humidity, it's still going to be getting hot in the days ahead. So as we go into the 4th of July holiday weekend, just want to remind you of some heat safety tips to make sure you're playing it safe in the heat. Of course, drink plenty of water. I know everyone likes to enjoy themselves on the 4th of July, but make sure you're staying hydrated. Hey, even if you have something with those electrolytes, to make sure you're replenishing those because it doesn't take long to be out in that heat and begin to get winded and really feel that heat exhaustion kicking in. And make sure you're taking regular breaks. I know one of our favorite things to do when it's the 4th of July is to be outside, whether it's on the water like the lake or going by the pool or grilling out. Just make sure you're taking that time inside with the AC if you can, or at least sitting in the shade. And then of course, because there is going to be more sunshine around and less in the way of rain, you want to make sure you're wearing plenty of sunscreen because that UV index is going to be running high this weekend. Well, Well, as the summer heat continues to build, you may notice a spike in your utility bills while trying to keep those temperatures comfortable in your home. But to keep prices down, experts say that managing the temperature is where the savings come in. Closing the shades on the sunny side of your home can limit heat building up, and limiting the use of heat-making appliances like ovens and dryers can also help. The final tip, if you know you'll be out of your home for at least 4 hours, then you can raise your thermostat by at least 4 degrees. While summer heat isn't just a physical danger, it can push emotions to a boiling point. As your Brittany Dion explains, mental health experts say there's a well-documented link between extreme heat and crime, including domestic violence.
It's hot outside.
More people are out, they're out longer. There's more people interacting with one another.
And mental health experts say the heat could be fueling more than just discomfort.
The more heat waves there are, the more violence we're going to see, the more crimes we're going to see. That's what the science shows very definitively.
Clinical psychologist Dr. Josh Claypo says prolonged heat waves take a toll on the body and the brain.
If you're hot, you're sweating, if you're uncomfortable, recognize that you're not in a great position to control your emotions.
And that stress can turn dangerous, with research showing a 12% spike in domestic violence reports nationally during the summer.
We need to keep our eyes out during these months for some of those signs of domestic violence. Because schedules are changed, because people have a more difficult time.
And it's not just domestic violence.
You see a rise in almost all crime.
To cope, Claypo suggests cooling your body with ice towels, shade, or even air conditioning when possible. He also says law enforcement typically increase patrols during heat waves.
It's really a public health issue.
And that is so true. You know, Dr. Claypo goes on to say public health groups help by opening cooling centers and increasing awareness. Remember, the best way to de-escalate during a heat wave might just be to step into the shade. Well, across America, taking you now to California, where evacuation orders are in place across the new Koyama as the Madre fire continues to grow. It's become the state's largest fire of the year after starting Wednesday and surging to more than 35,000 acres by this morning. Highway 166 remains closed for firefighting efforts, and nearly 50 structures there have been threatened by the blaze. And over in Phoenix, extreme heat causing extreme heat warnings earlier in the week as the state also battled air quality alerts. Sarah Robinson has more on the impacts.
Harder to breathe, a little bit of a struggle.
If you woke up in the Phoenix metro area Tuesday morning, you did not see a blue sky that's typical for the valley. Instead, you likely saw this, a dusty gray haze blanketing the horizon.
I can get out of breath faster. I've been feeling more lightheaded, like I have to drink so much more water. And like my skin and my allergies have been acting up more than ever this year.
In particular, it's impacting those with lung issues.
I'm asthmatic, so it's really hard to breathe, so I did notice that as well.
It was also an issue for pilots and passengers at Sky Harbor Airport.
My flight is delayed.
The FAA issuing a departure delay advisory for low visibility.
It's sort of akin to standing next to someone that's smoking a cigarette.
Dr. Gary Kirklis is a physician at Phoenix Children's Hospital. He says in general, it's best to avoid spending time outdoors while pollution levels are this high. According to the Department of Environmental Quality, there are harmful PM10 and PM2.5 particulates from cars, burnt wood, and dust in the air.
It's difficult for us to do the lung to do its job, which is to breathe air to provide our body with oxygen.
Kirklis says those who struggle most are asthma patients, but older adults with COPD or other lung diseases and heart issues can also experience significant difficulties.
When we have poor air quality days like today, they can very well happen. And in fact, we see that very often with kids coming into the emergency room or the urgent care due to the asthma attacks.
Some of the people we spoke to today worried about more pollution to come on the 4th of July.
Definitely causes some uncertainty about what you're breathing in.
While still ahead, we talk about how hot we're expecting to get for the holiday weekend and ways we can save the planet this month just by reducing plastic waste. We'll be right back. Time for weather every 6 minutes. Welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. And we're actually not doing it every 6 minutes because guess what, guys? This is a show that is completely dedicated to weather. So welcome to weather for an entire 30-minute show. Let's look at that lawn mowing forecast for tomorrow. For the 4th of July, if you need to get some yard work done, maybe before family or friends are coming over and you're going to be grilling out. Of course, early in the morning, we're always going to recommend temperatures will be in the 70s around 8 a.m. But by the time we get a little closer to lunch, getting to the upper 80s, and I think we should get into the low 90s by the heat of the afternoon. Now, I don't want to tell you it's not going to rain tomorrow because there is just a 10-20% chance of an isolated shower storm. I do think overall most of us are going to be dry, and you see as we head into the evening, we really begin to dry out. So just make sure you have that First Alert weather app set to receive notifications just in case you do see a stray shower or storm. Otherwise, enjoy that it's a little drier because I know everyone's grass has been really high lately with all of that wet weather in the forecast. But wanted to give you all a live look this evening on our First Alert Sky Vision at Gulf Shores. Beautiful sunset photos. Hey, if any of you are watching and you're at the beach, make sure you send us in some of those beach photos, especially the sunrise and sunsets. We're real partial to those on the WBRC First Alert weather app. Looking gorgeous by the water. Now, if you are going to be going to Gulf Shores or anywhere along the Alabama Gulf Coast for the holiday weekend, we will eventually see rain chances going up later in the weekend, a better chance of some scattered showers and storms. But you'll notice at least for tomorrow, rain chance is pretty low, just a 10% chance of a stray shower or storm. But that weather pattern does look to be becoming more unsettled as we get into next week, kind of similar to ours. By the middle of next week, a better chance of rain in the forecast. I will say though, as we look at that beach forecast, you see these thunderstorm icons popping up. We were talking about the tropics earlier. This isn't necessarily an issue because of the tropics. This is just some unsettled weather that's going to be coming back into the forecast. So as far as the future radar, as we look a little closer to what it could be doing right by the water, here we are tomorrow afternoon at around lunchtime, and we see that possibility of a few showers and storms developing offshore. So we've had this front that has come through, right? And down by the coast, you're still seeing the possibility of some greater moisture levels that could lead to a few showers and storms getting into your Saturday. But right now here at home, because we have that drier air in place, it's just not anywhere near as muggy. So it definitely feels more comfortable outside. You see the heat index is very variable in the upper 80s to low 90s. But speaking of the water, this comes as researchers are revealing that some changes are happening in the ocean. The ocean is changing colors. Georgia Tech researchers found that ocean water closer to the poles is becoming greener and water near the equator is becoming bluer. They're not exactly sure what's causing it, but research has also shown that water temperatures are going up. Susan Lalzer with Georgia Tech sharing how phytoplankton could be the culprit for that greener water.
Phytoplankton are the basis of the food web, right? So you go up from there. And so if these changes indicate changes in the growth of the phytoplankton, that would mean you would have changes at the higher trophic levels.
The research team found these results by analyzing 20 years of satellite data from NASA. They're also trying to confirm now whether changes in algae levels and chlorophyll are impacting productivity and the food web. And as we continue to take care of our planet, a global initiative in the month of July could help to reduce future plastic waste. Fox's Ted Linder has more.
Plastic comes in all shapes and sizes and can often end up everywhere we look.
Researchers have looked for microplastics. Plastic, as it degrades and breaks down, ends up in little bits and pieces all over the world. In the North Pole, in the South Pole, in all of us.
The Environmental Protection Agency says the percentage of plastic in the country's municipal waste jumped from 0.4% in 1960 to more than 12% in 2018. Now, tiny plastics can even end up in the things we eat and drink.
The estimate is that we eat about a credit card's worth of plastics a week in the food that we're eating, in the water that we're drinking.
To combat the growing issue of plastic pollution, the global movement Plastic Free July calls on consumers to avoid single-use plastics for the entire month. Environmental experts say the pledge will likely be difficult for most people, but it can help to promote better practices to improve the environment.
How do you pay a little bit of attention and start to think about behavior change? What can you do to make a difference?
Ways to prevent plastic waste in your community range from choosing metal water bottles over plastic ones to advocating for less plastic packaging at your local grocery stores.
They need to hear from people. So you can make your individual focus, but you can also then make more collective interest, right? Can you work with friends and neighbors to think about, well, what does that look like?
Environmental experts say the movement is also meant to spread awareness of the issue beyond the month of July.
If you think about a month like Plastic-Free July, the reason for stopping to consider this is just to pay attention to it.
Ted Lindner, Fox News.
Still ahead, we continue to track the possibility for rain in the forecast by the middle of next week and talk about a new campaign that puts the community first in the face of severe weather. We'll be right back. Welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. Meteorologist Lauren Linehan here with a look at your Super 7-day forecast. So, as far as the holiday weekend, rain chances are still going to be staying relatively low. Now, I did mention tomorrow we do have a 20% chance of some isolated showers and storms popping up for Independence Day. I still think most of us aren't going to have major issues with rain. If you do see a little pop-up shower storm, it will generally be going out of here pretty quickly. So, as far as your Friday goes for tomorrow, we'll start off the day pretty dry, but here we go tomorrow around 12 o'clock. Some of our high resolution models have been picking up on, hey, winds are going to be shifting to out of the east tomorrow. So sometimes when you have easterly winds in place in the summer, that can initiate the Atlantic sea breeze. You get that wind coming off of the water from the Atlantic. It can allow a couple of showers and storms to develop across Georgia, and then potentially that can move into Alabama. But I mean, it just looks like very isolated coverage at best. I still think most of us are going to be dry tomorrow, and if a shower or storm comes in, it will be dissipating fairly quickly. So by the time we pop off some fireworks tomorrow evening, like here on Thunder on the Mountain, things will be drying out. And then looking even drier as that drier air is really in force on Saturday and Sunday. High temperatures will likely be in the low to mid 90s over the holiday weekend. So if you're going to be hanging out at the pool on Saturday, just make sure, of course, that you have that First Alert weather app set to receive notifications. You can see right now on First Alert AccuTrack, we're just not seeing much in the way of rain. It's actually pretty dry right now. Now, as we look ahead to later next week, you notice those rain chances gradually begin to go up. There is the possibility that later next week we could be seeing moisture levels increasing. As we look at the muggy meter, you see the humidity begins to go up a little bit. So as we see those moisture levels increasing next week, not only is it going to feel more humid outside, but that will allow a better chance for some scattered showers and storms to develop. As we look at next week, I think next Wednesday and Thursdays when we have a first alert for possibly a better chance of some scattered showers and storms in the forecast. And you'll notice when we bump up those rain chances, eventually the temperatures end up going down as well. So just maybe not going to be as hot later next week. Well, we first brought you the story of the group Vortex on Tuesday, and today Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt is speaking with Dr. Justin Sharp about their newest campaign that helps get people out into the community after severe weather.
One of the big things for the last couple of big severe weather events we've talked about a lot is how you can be a hero. You can help spread the word, text someone you know, and that just kind of falls hand in hand with what you're saying.
Yeah, it does. And so one of the things that we've been working on recently in my new role, like I said, I'm working for Mississippi Alabama Sea Grant, and we're working closely with the Vortex program. So what happens is that, you know, in 2020, the NOAA National Severe Storms Laboratory and that Mississippi Alabama Sea Grant Consortium partnered to create this regional extension program to disseminate this research back to those communities. And we've been doing this for a variety of ways, but one of the ways that we're actually trying to look at things now is we've got something coming up called a Time for a Visit campaign. So just to phrase this, I'm an English person. I remember sitting in an Uber once and having a wonderful conversation about the work that I do. And afterwards, that Uber driver said to me, "Hey, thanks for the visit." And I was sitting there going, and I didn't know what that meant. And so I was like, oh, you just meant having a chat, having a talk, having a conversation, just the normal things that we do in our day-to-day lives. And I thought that was a wonderful expression and something that I thought would resonate with people here in the southeast of the United States. And so we've come up with this Time for a Visit campaign. And so what's really key about this, about being a hero, those sorts of things, is that I'm sure you have talked with people many times who have survived, but they've offered shelter to others. Now, this is critical for those folk who are in, say, weaker structures. Mobile manufactured homes have much higher fatality rates than solid or site-built homes. And so what we're trying to do with this campaign is say, hey, you know what? Call your friend, your family member who live in one of those site-built structures ahead of time in the watch and say, hey, is it okay if I come over? I'll bring some takeout. We'll play some board games. We'll stay together. We'll be safe together. So this is something that we're trying to get going, and we're using different sorts of forms of communication. One is to devise a fridge magnet. Another thing that we're doing is having a comic strip that goes along that. And that comic strip is not aimed at children, by the way. It's actually aimed at adults, because it's important sometimes to include people who may have lower literacy levels, for instance, or things like that. Or maybe it's more palatable in that way. So I hope that sort of helped answer your question there and try and show what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it.
Yeah, it's not only just the getting the word out, but also offering and that welcoming when you have a safe place, a safe space. I remember growing up around here as a kid, my grandparents would always visit, and they would visit, right? Time for a visit, and every time there was a threat for severe weather because we had a shelter available. But great information right there, Dr. Sharp.